Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morganroth, Motor City Madmouth. Pleased to have a great crew on hand. But before I do that, I want to give my youngest nephew, Peter Shepik, a birthday greeting. I believe he's like 5 years old, so I better get it right. But I know, Peter, happy birthday from Uncle Scott to you across the world here on. As just to let everybody know, the Sports Exchange is being broadcast around the world. I'll go ahead and let everybody know all the particulars, and we'll get to the crew. The audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. And there are a lot of places to get them. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room is one way to do it. Please send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call myself at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at Tribune South. And Candy Ebling is behind the scenes, although I can't say she's behind the scenes right now because she's on a Zoom call with my sister-in-law, Marie, and my brother-in-law, Todd, and the birthday boy, Peter. With that said, now that we got the Peter Shepik business out of the way, we have
Happy birthday, Peter.
Happy birthday.
As part of the team, and one that I expect to be, you're going to see a lot of, and you're going to read a lot of. His name is Monty Perez. I had an opportunity to meet Monty over at the FAU game against Monmouth, and we struck up a good friendship, lives in the area. And obviously with our broadcast experience to go along with the experienced people I have. Monty, welcome to the broadcast. Welcome to the Tribune. We're looking forward to a lot of good things that we can accomplish one another, both on your network as well as ours. Welcome
aboard. Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it. It was great talking to George and Jacob right off the bat. Feel real comfortable already. So looking forward to, contributing a lot of articles and doing a lot of shows with you guys, and you guys coming on my show as well.
Why don't you give everybody a background information about what you're about, how big your platform is, what your specialty is. I know you get around, anybody can put on a clinic about these reels and all that business, and the way you master things, it's you. We could do a full show on that, but we don't have time. But
you're being way too kind. Yeah, I'm on TikTok. You see it right there, Monty Perez 231. In about a year, I have over 5.5 million views on sports clips. I was working for another company. I left them in May. We left on good terms, and I started my own YouTube channel, the Full Monty Sports Show channel. I'm about to hit 250,000 views, 250,000 views on my YouTube shorts and my show, and my Facebook Reels. I started that again on my own, not with the media company I was working for. Thanksgiving, I just hit 20 million views. In the last 5 years, I've written over 700 sports articles. So constantly grinding. Follow me on all sorts of social media, on Twitter, MontyJP231, on Facebook, Monty Perez, and on TikTok. You can see all my sports clips. I do 80s, 70s, 90s, and today I did one on Dan Marino this morning. I'm doing one on Walter Payton tomorrow, and then I'm constantly, updating, doing clips from my show. My show is 11 a.m. Sundays and then 7 p.m. on Monday.
All right. So in addition to Monty, we have the crew, George Eichhorn. Welcome back, George.
Good to be here again, live from the Motor City, and welcome, Monty.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And Jacob.
Atlanta, GA, by way of Quincy, Illinois, old Midwesterner myself. Welcome here. We're happy to have you.
And Jacob and I were talking about Mitchell Trubinsky for you Bears fans before this opening segment started. So
I like to talk about quarterbacks that actually won ball games.
Well, then you better go back to Jim McMahon because you haven't had much since. So
no, but I'm talking about he whipped the Detroit regularly, so I had fun with that.
I figured you would. All right. Anyways, well, now that you brought the Detroit situation up, we're going to segue exactly to that. Miguel Cabrera just passed Adrian Beltre, who had 3,166 hits and now stands at 3,167 for 16th on the all-time list. Cal Ripken is 15th with 3,184. Well, might as well start off with a resident Detroiter. George, you think you might just get the Cal Ripken?
As much as I wish he would, I doubt it very much. I mean, he's done well, though. He has had a very good second half of the season. His batting average has improved tremendously. Again, he doesn't have much power, just a couple home runs this year. But, it's been a fun season for him because he's getting a lot of accolades and a lot of fun. The farewell tour has taken him all across the American National League, gifts galore, donations for his foundation to help kids, which is beautiful. All the gifts and the checks that he's gotten for that. But I tell you what, we're going to miss him here in Detroit, but it's been a great run, and I just don't think he's got enough not enough games left either to catch Ripken. You got to remember he sits out like one out of every 3 or 4 games. I don't know what AJ Hinch is going to do. I would imagine he'll try to play him in every game when the final homestand starts. But right now they're on the road. The Dodgers series wraps up today, and then they go to Oakland from there. But yeah, Scott, I mean, he's been a tremendous asset to the community here in Detroit, obviously to baseball in general. A great guy, and what a wonderful career. Obviously a first Hall of Famer, first ballot, of course, that's going to happen. So he's done well, but I think he's going to be stay in that position that he's in right now. Would you say 16th?
Yeah, he's currently 16th. Cal Ripken.
He went ahead of Beltray. Yep. But great guy.
Yeah. Okay, Monty.
Yeah, it's amazing because I'm so shocked how baseball has changed, right? We saw a few years ago with the Kansas City Chiefs, the Kansas City Royals, how they played small ball. They didn't live and die for the home run. My Mets, prime example, they live and die for the home run. You see the Atlanta Braves who are putting up historic home run numbers. It's not going to be like we used to see where you're constantly seeing guys getting 3,000 hits. You're not going to see that anymore. First of all, players don't play like they used to. You don't see players playing 155, 156 games. They rest a lot. They don't care about hits. They care about RBIs and home runs. Even the stolen base has really gone, by the wayside. So it's amazing to me when you're seeing, like an Albert Pujols last year. Go look at Albert Pujols' stats, what that guy did for average, home run, power. It's Pete Alonso is one of the best home run hitters in the league for the last 5 years. He's batting under 230 this year. So, it's not about the hits anymore, unfortunately. It's about driving in runs, scoring runs. So I don't think we're going to see the likes of many players playing that long to get 3,000 hits. And for nothing else, what they make in 1 year, a Cal Ripken made in 7, 8, 9 years. So what's the motivation to play for 15, 20 years when you're making 25 million? I mean, Shohei Ohtani is going to get paid $50 million.
Yeah,
that's
true statement. Yep.
All right, well, Jacob, you get to follow that.
Well, here's the thing: Shohei Ohtani also will never pitch again unless it was by I think people keep talking about, well, he'll pitch at 25. When he's hitting 330 to 350 next year, he will not. He will see how much stamina he's got, and you're seeing that. But as far as Miggy, if he makes it, it'll be dead last game of the year, just because you said he sits 1 out of every 4. But the thing is, you can't tell, because we had Adam Wainwright just get number 200, which will be a rare number very, very soon.
Yeah.
He got number 200, and we thought this is going to be easy, and then the Cardinals had a horrible year, and his curveball kind of stands there, and he went 3 months without a win. We were like, is this going to happen? He's going to be stuck at 198. All of a sudden, he gets a 1-0 and 2-1 win, 2 of them in a row, and he gets it. You can't tell. And he threw some gems, too. Threw some absolute gems. So it's like you can't tell what you're going to get. And the next game, he probably give up 8 runs and does all that thing if he was to pitch again. So time for him to go to country music and be fun with it. But as far as Miggy, he's getting hot at the right time. But, all the struggles he had, it shows it's his time to go. So if he breaks that record, it'll be dead last game of the year. And what a way to go out.
I'm going to go back to Monty's point, because that was really good. You think of all the money that these guys are making, but I will never compare baseball to any other sport in terms of load management, because, they play as often as they can.
Yeah, that is true. I mean,
living proof of that was on Sunday when I covered the Marlins and the Braves, and the Marlins whacked the Braves 16-2. But the reality is, when I saw that starting lineup for the Braves, they had all their heavy hitters in there, and the Marlins had a lot. So load management are 2 words that are not, and I repeat, not associated with Major League Baseball.
Well, I will say this, Scott. One of the things that disturbed me last year with Buck Showalter is he kind of manages these games like Pat Riley did when he first came to the Miami Heat. Meaning Pat Riley in December would manage a game like it's the 7th game of the NBA Finals. Buck Showalter let Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor play injured because these guys want to play every day, And the last 15 games in the playoffs, the Mets had no second or third gear. So I understand what you're saying. I don't want my players to play 120 games, but there's no reason for the Braves now to keep playing their players 5-6 games a week when you want them fresh for the playoffs.
Well, and another thing with the Braves, I'm here. Another thing with the Braves, they have got so much depth, it's insane.
I know.
You could put their second 9 out there, and they're going to score 6.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt Olson let people forget Freddie Freeman, and Freddie Freeman was a god there.
I know, exactly. Trust me.
I agree, but I can tell you one thing: I'm not Ray Charles, and I saw all those players play on Sunday, and it was good to see. The reality is it was good to see that nobody was really resting. These guys are playing, and let's talk about Matt Olson. The last time I saw, he had 52 home runs, so he broke the Braves record. I don't know if he's had any more since, but so no. I mean, Major League Baseball is not load management. I get it. I totally understand it. Okay. But Monty, you talked about these guys getting paid so much money that they don't have to play as long as other ones. Therefore, these records and numbers are going to stand the test of time even longer. But still, for what Miguel Cabrera did, can you? And I know this is a pure hypothetical, so I'll run it to all of y'all. Okay, can you only imagine how many more hits he'd had if he wasn't hurt?
Oh yeah, I've thought about that.
Makes you wonder a little bit, doesn't it? So, but anyways,
Sure.
And again, I'll go back to what Jacob said. If he does manage to get to Ripken's number, it'll probably be done at the last game of the year. One thing I want to say about Cabrera before he closes this one out, it was so good here in Miami to see him play all 3 games in this town for the Miami Marlins. It really was. But you know what was so good about it is he was healthy to do it, and the Marlins made out like bandits at the gate because we know that Miami and the Marlins are a tough draw down at the old Orangeville site.
Can I add one thing to this guy? So the World Baseball Classic, we saw it and how emotional it was. But as a Met fan, I didn't want it because Diaz went out. How do you guys feel about that? Should they be playing in the World Baseball Classic?
I got no problem with it.
Well, I'll say this. It's a tough thing to say because in the way you want them to be able to stay healthy, and they don't stay healthy the way they used to, or they don't play through the same things they used to. At the same time, you are what the heck happened? Yeah, but here's the thing to say. No matter what, you got to build the game of baseball. It has been the one that sunk the most. Anyway, Monty, I was saying this. The game has sunk in comparison to a lot of games that they're trying to build it back, trying to get kids into it. So the World Baseball Classic will get there. So it's tough to say. But this was the game that almost practically could get passed up by soccer just because of the boredom if they didn't make some of the decisions that they made. So it's tough to say on that.
That's a great point.
All I can say is I like the World Baseball Classic, and it's great where everybody gets to play each other during a time of the year, spring training, when they can do that. Anybody else want to add to it?
I like it. Yeah.
Okay. Onwards we go. We're going to the NFL, though, this time. And we're going to talk about Tom Brady on Shedeur Sanders owning a Rolls Royce. Tom Brady, quote, okay, this is fun. I like this. He needs to get his ass in the film room and spend as much time in there as possible and less time in the car. As my nephew Peter would say, "Ka." Okay, but he's a little toddler. He's not a toddler anymore. He's 5 or 6 years old. But I can tell you this thing in the car. All right, George.
So he's from Boston.
I don't know. 5 or 6 year olds
lose
the R. Do 5 or 6 year olds lose the R sign when they're young? I don't know. I'm not going to try to figure it out. All I have to do is I have 2 cats. All right, George.
Okay, well, try as he may. I mean, Brady, you're not going to change what this kid is doing. I'm just, I understand where you're coming from. These kids in college, I mean, it's like they're getting paid already in some cases. And a Rolls Royce, wow. I mean, it was just like, that's what he drives? I couldn't believe it. But, Tom, a little bit of tongue in cheek there. You got no right saying that. You don't know if he's in the film room long enough or not. Come on, unless his daddy Dion told you that. So, I mean, a little bit of fun and humor I think Tom obviously is having, but I would have, I never would have dreamed that would have happened, but things have all changed in college football and name, image, and likeness and all that stuff. So, but it's kind of amusing. I got a kick out of Brady's quotes.
Well, remember, before I turn over to Monty, okay, and that's it. Tom Brady was supposed to be doing games on Fox at this time of the year. What was it, 10-year, $375 million?
Yeah.
And he hasn't made his way to the broadcast booth, so this was probably the closest he ended up getting to the broadcast booth. And Shedeur Sanders was on the wrong side of the Tom Brady tongue, okay, compared to the other
Yeah.
players. He would be on the gridiron. But that said, I'm going to go ahead and transition it over to Monty Perez. What do you think, Mr.
So this is Tom Brady, who said in an interview that his kids will never know what it's like to ride a bus, to wait in line for a plane, to wait in line for a train. His kids have never wanted anything that they couldn't get. Listen, whatever Shedeur Sanders is doing, keep doing it. He's going to be a top 10 pick. He's one of the most accurate passers I've seen in college in a long time. Listen, they're going to lose by double digits to my Oregon Ducks because their defense is terrible and Oregon is so underrated. It's unbelievable. But listen, let the kid, this is why college players get paid. And I will say this about the two Sanders' kids. You know, they've had everything in their life because their dad is a multimillionaire, but
Right.
they're still hungry. You didn't see that with Michael Jordan's kids. You don't see that with a lot of great athletes' kids. I also say this about LeBron James. LeBron James's kids are working out with him at the Lakers facilities almost all summer, right? And you look at what Dion is doing with his kids. Whatever Dion has done, he's raising his kids. They know what to say on a microphone. They're feisty. When his friend got that cheap shot, who was the first person to go up and get in the Colorado State defender's face? It was Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback. I didn't like that. The lineman should have went there. This kid's a leader. He's got a good head on his shoulders. If he wants to enjoy a $250,000, $300,000, whatever it is, car, he's earned it.
Okay, Jacob.
Well, it's a Mercedes Maybach for one thing, not a Rolls Royce.
Okay.
But it's a Mercedes Maybach, but it was like it's a $190,000 car. But it's like the biggest thing with this whole situation is the fact that he is exceptionally accurate. He's doing wonderful. By the way, yes, Oregon will win. It'll also be in overtime.
Okay.
It'll be in overtime. It's not going to be. It is not going to be a double digit. I mean, Colorado's got every bit of the offense. They just don't have the defense. The biggest thing, though, that we see with this is the fact that you want to know what we're going to see now is the fact that we're going to see a change. Dion is going to control where Shedeur is going to the NFL. Because notice on a video, there's a little video where they're talking about Shedeur going to the NFL, and here's Dion going, he ain't going yet. I can tell you why he said he ain't going yet. And there's nothing Shedeur can say. I can tell you why he's saying you can't go yet. It's because the two teams that are going to have the chance at the number one pick are going to be, if he's in that level, are the Bears and the Cardinals, who handle these quarterbacks horribly.
Yeah.
He's
true.
not going to allow anyone to handle the Shedeur to give him 3 yards, to give these 3-yard screens all the time. He's not going to allow it, which means
No, but Jacob, I was going to say, other than the Chargers with Justin Herbert that had weapons, it's not easy if you're a top 5 pick to go to a team that has. Let's look at my Jets. The Jets suck every year, and they keep getting draft picks. Let's look at the Lions up until recently. How many draft picks did they get? So if Shedeur doesn't go this year, that's fine. There's no pressure on him to go because financially he doesn't have to take care of his family. But how is he going to avoid going to a crappy team? The NFL rewards incompetence.
He'll control the trade. This is where we're at. He will
like Manning did with Eli.
Well, and you know what, Monty? I was just about to say that. Nobody's going to sit here and tell me that Eli Manning was destined to play for the Chargers. You know darn well Archie Manning was behind that. He ain't playing there.
No, Dion's going to control that because he's going to control the trade. Well, he's not going to. As I said, it's going to be. For some reason he can't make a control on something. He's going to give himself a chance. He's going to get a control. Someone brought up. I saw it on you as a Bears fan. I see these morons on Twitter all the time. You'll see me bash them like crazy and beat the dead horse on them. You'll see it all the time when you see my Twitter. And it's like they were trying to put Shedeur Sanders in a Bears jersey. I said, if you see Shedeur Sanders in a Bears jersey, you'll see Dion as a coach. He's not going, and you'll see Tom Brady as the quarterback coach. That is, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm saying that's exactly the reason you would go to Chicago, is Dad's going to watch you. He's not going to allow the Matt Eberflus and Matt Nagy and all these ridiculousness with his kid. He's going to give you the very best. And by the way, Tom Brady could easily be his quarterback coach. Easily.
Yeah, but Dion can't bring 81 players to the Bears like he did to Colorado.
Understood,
Right.
but he can control the situation. 100%. What I'm saying.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Go ahead, Scott.
For 2024, he won't be able to do it after that.
Right.
Some point or another. If he's playing in the NFL, he's going to play for whoever takes him. It just doesn't appear he'll play for those two teams. Staying on point, though, I'll just say this. Tom Brady, as I said, isn't commentating for Fox, so I guess the closest thing he's going to get to it. And let's not forget that he does have a stake in the Raiders, right? So you never know. There's a piece of that interest there. So, yeah, well, all right, hold on, Jacob. All right, okay, go ahead.
Hey, Scott, real quickly, I wanted to say this about Tom Brady. He signed that big deal and stuff like that. Guess what? All four of us are mastered communicators. All four of us are master communicators. I'm a trained actor. You've been on the TV, too, been on TV. You're obviously good, Monty. I met you for the first time. We're all master communicators. It is not a 30-second soundbite's not the same as having to think with scripts and do all that stuff on TV and with your makeup and he has to get trained. And he might get to the point where he just doesn't want to do it because it takes so much training to do this.
All right, but Jacob, let's stay on point here, okay? I want to make sure we really do stay on point because there's a lot of ways that this can go. The reality is when I brought this up, we're talking about Shedeur Sanders in a Rolls Royce, and Tom Brady says, I think you better be studying the playbook more. Let's not lose sight of the fact that all he's done is won several Super Bowls, so it's not like it's a bad source telling you stay out of the car and stay in and continue to study. Okay,
well, I can bet you. I'll put a thing. I bet you Tom Brady can become his private QB coach. I could easily see it.
Well, maybe he could, but right now the point
he might even be doing it now. They text each other all the time.
Right. Yeah. Well, here, let's go to the chat room here. Sandra, Anthony Bianchi, thanks a lot for joining us. Sanders to the Broncos, if that's the case. Well, I'll tell you, if Sean Payton has any sense, it probably would happen, but we'll see how that one plays out.
That's not the worst place to go. Denver never gets
a Mile High City to the Broncos. Daddy will be able to keep an eye on you all the way from Boulder. That's for sure.
Denver's not a bad place to go. They're never bad.
No, I know. But my point is this. I don't totally disagree with Tom Brady at all from a guy that's won a lot of Super Bowls and a guy that's made Bill Belichick irrelevant because he hasn't won anything since Brady left. So let's not forget that either. So whether you're in the Rolls Royce or the film room, I do completely understand Tom Brady's point. We'll see where it goes. All right. We'll stay to the Bay Area. Christian McCaffrey, 11 games in a row with a touchdown. Will he make it 12 on Thursday night versus the New York Giants, George Eichhorn?
Sure, why not? I mean, Christian is a good player, and he always has been, I think. And I know he's been beset with injuries, but yeah, no, I think he certainly can do it. Anything's possible, as we know, week to week. The NFL, you don't know what's going to happen any given week. We found that out. Lions fans thought they were going to have a cakewalk over Seattle, and that didn't turn out too well, did it? So, yeah, I mean, it's my prediction would be, that he's going to be able to do that.
What about you, Monty?
I think this game is going to be over at halftime. I think, we've seen what Daniel Jones does without Barkley in the lineup. It's like two different quarterbacks. Barkley's not going to play. So this might be an opportunity where San Francisco is up 2-3 touchdowns and McCaffrey they start to run it. I know that San Francisco loves to run it, but they start to run it more, kill the clock. So I look for McCaffrey to get probably 2 touchdowns here. I wouldn't play Brandon Ayuk. He's struggling with an injury. They were talking today about him suiting up. You do not need Brandon Ayuk to beat the New York Giants without Barkley. The Giants have been awful. They came back and beat a bad Arizona team, so giving them credit. But I think we're going to see like a 37-10 score. It's going to be over by halftime, and I wish there was 2 games on Thursday night like they do on Monday night.
Okay. Well, so in other words, we got 2 people that say yes, 12, and Jacob, I guess you're going to be the obvious third choice that says it too, right?
Well, yeah, and he'll definitely score. And the biggest thing about it is the reason there's 2 on Monday night is because of the writer strike, writers and actor strike. They need the places to put. They need programming. But no, yeah, he will, and I think it's going to be one pass, one run. He'll get that. He'll get his 1 yard. But the guaranteed one will be the 1 yard in, and they'll get it on their fourth play. Because that is such. See, I said on Twitter the other night and on Facebook the other night, I absolutely believe that Miami can win the dang thing, but just because of Tua, if they stay healthy. But boy, San Francisco's just as lethal.
Oh yeah.
San Francisco's offense is just as lethal, and it's like, and they'll get down to 4 and 5. It's like the only difference is I'm not sure if Purdy is. I'm not sure if Purdy is anything past the system quarterback, but they are. That's both. I would love to see that Super Bowl, San Francisco and Miami. They are both lethal offenses, and so it's going to be fun.
Well, many years ago they did face one another in the Super Bowl.
84.
49ers easily got the best. I think that was Dan Marino's only Super Bowl, if I recall correctly. I was living in the area. I'll just say this really quickly to close out the topic, because I have one that's going to take a considerable more time than this one. No doubt about it. McCaffrey, 12 in a row, period. That's all. I'll leave that one short and sweet, because the next one's going to be loaded. We talked about it, George Eichhorn. Been on the Sports Exchange. I don't know if you have it on the slate for Pundit tomorrow, Jacob. Haven't seen that lineup yet, but I'm going to put it on tonight's anyways. The XFL and the USFL are advanced talks to merge. The deal could be completed before the 2024 season, creating one alternative football league to the NFL, according to Axios. I'm going to lead off on this one, and I'll tell you why, because once upon a time, I covered the original United States Football League, and yes, I did meet Donald Trump at the USFL championship game in '84, back up in the hotel room with a bunch of other guys. No, hey, listen, I'm not talking politics. I met the guy.
It was terrific.
Well, yeah, well, all right, come on, Jacob. I don't want to lose my thought, and if anybody's capable of throwing me off, you're definitely really good at it. So, but anyways, I covered the original USFL. Here's what's going to end up happening at this thing. That league, or once they merge, you're going to see an 18-game regular season is what you're going to see. You may not see games in February. You might see them probably, I would say maybe later February, early March, but you're going to have an 18-game schedule is what you're going to have. And then, of course, you're going to have an awful lot of markets, and you're going to have an awful lot of TV partners. So I really like it. You might as well put them all together and unite them both. George and I both know that, when CART and then the Indy Racing League divided, it was never good until they had to reunite it. I don't want to get into auto racing, but you see a situation there. We all saw what happened many years ago in the NFC or the NFL and the AFL merged, how that turned out. But spring football will make it. We've had 2 years where both of them are getting on footing. So you're looking at an 18-game schedule, and you're going to see an awful lot of players play, and they're going to see increased practice squads. And these leagues are going to be so dynamite now because they need that program during the spring. They really, really do. I am totally in all favor of it. It would be great to see happen next year. All right, George, go ahead.
Well, I'm looking forward to that happening, the merger, but I don't know if that 18 weeks is going to work out. And the reason being is you probably don't want to start till after the Super Bowl, which is now second Sunday of February. It used to be the first.
Right.
And then if you tack on 18 games plus the playoffs, you're going into July. And I don't think they're going to want to do that. Training camps for the NFL start in July. But that being said, Scott, I'm not here to argue whether it's 16 or 18 games.
Right.
The fact of the matter is, this is a good sign because, as I mentioned on the show last night, the stands were not nearly full, anywhere near full here in Detroit for the Michigan Panthers and their season. So putting more teams together and having a bigger league it makes complete sense to me. And you also want to be able to have the best football. Okay. So you got two different leagues. You're dividing the quality. The quality. The product is being diluted. So I'm all for it. And you're right. The media partners are there. Fox, ESPN, ABC, NBC. No, I don't know what happened to CBS. They don't have no part in it. But the rest of the major networks that cover the NFL are covering either XFL or USFL. So to me, it's a good thing. Just please keep that franchise in Detroit at Ford Field because I like it. I went to a few games. It was a good brand of football.
Let me mention a couple of things really quickly. If indeed they stay with the 18 games, then I wouldn't be surprised if indeed they stay in February. You know what? Anthony Bianchi in the chat room says Saudi Arabia just entered the chat as a bidder. I don't know about that, but all I'll say to that answer is anything is possible, and I'm leaving it at that. I don't want to go any deeper. All right, Monty, take over.
Okay, so here's my thought process with this. Spinoffs don't work, right? Joni Loves Chachi never worked after Happy Days, right? The only spinoff that worked was Frasier after Cheers, right? We saw Joey leave Friends. That didn't work. The problem I have with these leagues is that as a fan, why am I going to be invested with a guy who's 32 years old, never really played in the NFL? Where's the emotional attachment? I don't have any. What these leagues should do is partner up and become sort of a minor league team for the Detroit Lions, a spring team for the Jets. And at the end of the season, two of those players, the coaches send them to the Jets training camp, and the fans get to vote for one other player. So 3 players from this league can go to the Jets training camp. You're invested. I don't want to see a 34-year-old quarterback who is a journeyman in the NFL all of a sudden, lead a team to a championship. It doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't mean I have no emotional investment in spring football. I love college football. I love pro football. If the product is good, I will watch it, but the product's never going to be good because if it was that good, they'd be in the NFL. Joey was not good on his own. He was good on Friends. So spinoffs don't work. So all my friends are so excited about the merger and more football. I'm not.
Tell me how you really feel, Monty. You just did. Great minds think alike. You better get used to that acronym, GMTA, because everybody on this show is going to be quizzed on GMTA, Monty, and you're different now. They're on the team. GMTA, what does it mean, Monty? Say it.
I didn't hear what you said. I just heard that everyone's going to be quizzing me.
Great minds think alike. Did you hear it this time?
Okay, got it.
All right, you'll be quizzed next time. All right, just kidding with you. Well, I'm not really kidding. They know me. Great minds think alike. Don't worry. You get it. You'll get an earful every time we're covering games together, so you get it in more places.
I got it. Listen. There will never be great football because if these guys were great, they'd be in the NFL.
Well, here, you just got yourself a fan here, so hang on. And since you have a fan, Monty, you're in charge of reading it. Go ahead.
All right. Love Monty's point, making a chance for mediocre players to climb the ladder. Yeah, if these guys, if it was like why is the G League so successful now? Because those players go to the NBA when they play well, they get promoted.
Okay. All right, True. Jacob, you've had all of us. Let's get your take.
I'll tell you this part. The 34-year-old that's going to lead them to the title game or whatever is kind of fun, but it's also kind of comedy to watch the 34-year-old like a Paxton Lynch or whatever. Bomb, boom, dead. Yeah, 3 interceptions first half, dead. Right. It's fun for that. But here's the thing about what makes this work as far as the merger. I brought up Q rating earlier. Remember, Monty?
Yeah.
I brought up Q rating. You're combining the Q rating of The Rock with the media outlet of the USFL, because the USFL is the better media outlet. So you're combining both, and it's like USFL has the better media outlet, but not the eyes, if you will. Right. The UXFL doesn't have the media outlet, but they got the eyes. It's like The Rock is exceptionally popular, and then you've got all this. I mean, how popular is he? Oh, they could have that little. Lawsuit that they had with Together versus X, and of course, the media thought it was Rock versus the women. Of course, it wasn't. It was Danny. It was Danny just squashing them. But it's what the media will do. But that's the thing. It's like he is so loved that you can be able to do something like this, get another. And then there's also another thing I have to say. Everybody keeps saying, well, they lost money the first year. They're going to lose money the next 5 years. When you start a league, you have to get rents and the leases for the stadiums. You have to get uniforms. You have to pay the players. You have to do all that. You're not going to see anything of any profit for the first 5 years. And that's what what's the Red, whatever the, I forget who's covering it. That's like, it's The Rock, and then there's Red something as far as the whoever the money men are. I forget the name for a second. But they're saying they're trying to like their money back, and it's like, if you're getting into a new league and you're paying The Rock or the Danny and all of them, and you want your money back, it's like you should have been stupid enough to think you're getting money back in your first season. You're not going to get money back for 5 years, and that's the thing.
That's true.
Well, Jacob, the only thing I'm going to say is, number one, neither of these leagues are going broke because they got money behind them with all these TV networks. So unlike in the past, okay, they didn't have money with all these networks and Dwayne Rock Johnson. They're not going to, they can afford to absorb these losses. They got a product and to sell during the spring. So nobody's going broke over these. All know that Dwayne Rock Johnson, The Rock Johnson, is a very competent businessman with his ex-wife, and you also have a lot of great television partners. All right, it takes them a little while longer, and not like the old USFL where they were getting in a bidding war with the NFL where they were going to go broke faster. I covered that league. Don't tell me that Jim Kelly made pennies on the dollar there. Don't tell me that Steve Young didn't make pennies on the dollar. Don't sit here and tell me Herschel Walker made pennies on the dollar, okay, and the rest of the list goes on. This time their salaries are capped a lot, and they fall in line with what the budget is. So I'm not a math major, and I'll never pretend to be one. And I can tell you right now, my late father-in-law Fred Ebling, I would never pass his math class either because he would have been hard. Thankfully, I got his daughter instead. But that's beside the point. But the reality is they're not going to go broke. And you know what? Remember, Monty, and I know all of us are in the media here. What are you going to have during the spring? You think you're going to depend on NASCAR to carry you through that program? Good luck. The only time anybody cares about NASCAR is the Daytona 500. What about spring training? Those games aren't live, so you must have some live programming, and spring football more than fills the void. If you can think of something else they're going to put in there, Monty, I'm all ears. But now,
I've said this numerous times. The NBA should start their season on Christmas. No one watches the NBA in October, November when the NFL is on. You start the games on Christmas. Same thing with the NHL. Why are you competing against the NFL when April, May, June, July, or it's open? It's open. So start the season later so you can monopolize and get, full value of it. I'm an NBA guy. I don't watch it until Christmas anyway. I'm too involved with football.
Well, I used to be an NBA guy when it was good. Well, that's why we had a show once upon a time called Basket Bros on it, because we talked about everything good, not everything that's bad. Jacob and I were on it with Denzel Snipes, and we all had a good time with it. But I agree. But the reality is that they do start a little bit earlier. But, football will be football during the spring, and people will watch it. And more so when they start seeing more of these players make it to NFL rosters, and you talk about the NFL draft, then there is an appetite for football during the spring. There really is. And once upon a time, they had the World League of American Football. The only reason why that league didn't succeed, it was too expensive to run that operation overseas. But the idea was good. It really was. So I'm with you. That's why I brought this topic up, because I realized that there's an appetite for football during the spring, whether you like it or you don't. I mean, that's subject to anybody's opinion. We all have opinions on it. But I've always felt that the NFL needed a good feeder system that other guys could play and get more film on. And we had Coach John Bonamega. I don't know if you've heard of him. You probably have, Monty. But he comes on our show Inside the Pigskin, and he's glad that they're going to probably do it anyways because there's more coaching opportunities out there for other coaches. So you can't forget about
I don't want to see a Steve Spurrier coaching it. I'm sorry, man. I've seen you. I know the guy loves to coach, and he may bring fans, but I want to see young, upcoming coaches develop. And here would be a great thing. Have a defensive coordinator for your team be the head coach or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Monty, and you know what? Here's the thing. That'll probably happen. A lot of younger coaches are going to get opportunities. African Americans might even get more opportunities to get noticed as well. So again, developmental coaches. There might be some of the older guys, but that's a great point, Monty, that you just brought up. You're going to see younger coaches and develop in this league to get an opportunity to land in the NFL. So this is nothing but good in terms of developmental and a feeder system, but there's no way that anybody would ever be able to go out there and compete against it. Go ahead, Jacob.
Well, one of the things that's going to happen too is I saw somebody bring up Saudi Arabia earlier, and they brought this part, and it's like The Rock is right back with, he's got himself a little mini contract with WWE right now, a few months, because especially with the WGA and the SAG in strike. So he's basically getting himself some extra money there. WWE is going to go over to Saudi Arabia. They're going over there for Crown Jewel. He'll be there, I promise you, because Saudi Arabia loves a big name. They keep trying to get Hulk Hogan to wrestle, and there's not absolutely not going to happen at 70 years old. But they just try to get names. The Rock will be there. You know darn good and well he's probably going to find some names to try to help with that money.
Oh, no doubt.
You know, with the USFL and the XFL. So he will do that negotiation.
Listen, if they did it in golf, they'll do it in the NFL.
Yeah,
Everything goes to the highest bidder. Money talks.
Yeah, and you know what? We're leaving it on that note because that's a great point all the way around. All right, you know what? We're going to go back to the chat room since we've been on a roll with Anthony B. Honky. After all, this guy here is probably the unofficial fifth host here. So Shedeur Sanders, #1 pick to the Orlando Guardians. All that's college. All right, well, I mean,
I never heard of that franchise.
Buy that team if he wants to. We'll leave it at that. All right, so here's since this is your first rodeo here, unless Jacob's got something else he wants to add to this one, we do parting shots where everybody can say whatever they want as long as it's, I don't want to say it's G-rated, but make sure it's not R or X-rated. Okay, so with that said, George, let me have your parting shots.
Well, my parting shot is very local. Obviously, you guys have heard that they unveiled the statue of number 20, Barry Sanders, outside Ford Field last Saturday in a very nice ceremony. I just, it's a shame that these things take so long, but I know that Sheila Ford Hemp, the owner of the team, obviously the daughter of our former owner, William Clay Ford, and Martha Ford, has done a really good job. So this was long overdue. Wayne Fonts was invited back from his home in Florida. Calvin Johnson, a lot of, it was so good. It was just so good seeing guys like Herman Moore and Calvin Johnson and Kevin Glover and guys like that at the ceremony. And then they did another recognition of the event, the statue, if you will, on Sunday prior to the game against Seattle. So hats off to Detroit. This is more of a positive thing. It's too bad it takes so long. I told a friend of mine, I said, okay, they're celebrating their 90th year of the franchise, and this is the first statue you've erected. Something's not right. The picture is not right, but at least they saved it for the #1 guy of all time, and that's number 20, Barry Sanders. So, again, congratulations to you, Barry. You deserve it more than anybody. And Wayne Fonts, great to see you again. Thanks for coming back, Coach. And Anthony, triple like that for shout-out, George.
Good stuff. There you go. Look at that. All right. That's a pretty good one. All right,
Anthony.
Jacob Chrysler. We're going to say Monty for last. How's that after all? But last.
He's the main event. We know this.
That's it, Ronnie. So here, right. Jacob, go ahead. I'm going to interrupt you.
3 years ago, when we brought up Mitchell Trubisky earlier, but 3 years ago, everybody was all the Bears fans. And see, Monty, when you see me on Twitter, you're going to see me absolutely obliterate Bears fans on the regular. You will see it. I am ugly to them, and they deserve it. But I'll say this. The reason is, I will tell you that later, but here's the thing. 3 years ago, everybody was so happy. Justin Fields was him. Justin Fields was that guy. He was built different. He was going to make Nagy look good. He was all that stuff. He didn't need help. All that kind of thing. So anyway, fast forward 3 years. Let's see what did happen today. The Bears lose their defensive coordinator through a very, very ugly rumor. That's possibly true, based off the FBI. They brought one of their draft picks that was supposed to be a right tackle and wanted to turn them into a left tackle that he's never played before, just because they need to fill a body. They have four new guys on the IR. They've got everything whatsoever. Now they have to go try to fill the DC spot. And they have Justin Fields, who finally admitted today that the coaching is every bit of his problem, which it has been. We've been saying it. Except he also changed his mind a minute later. Oh, yeah, and why did he change his mind? Because they got rid of their backup, Nathan Peterman, who didn't need to be there anyway. But they got rid of him so they could move Bagent up. They gave him a message, and then he chickened out. But here's the thing about this Bears fans. Everything I bring up is not just, it was Trubisky. Trubisky is not a Hall of Famer. Solid quarterback.
No, he's not.
No, solid quarterback that makes plays, that can do this stuff. He's not a Hall of Famer, but he helped win games in a system. That's what he was. It's what it is. But it's still better what's going on right now, which is miserable in Chicago. And this is the point I'm saying. Every time the Bears fans always want prettier, the Bears end up losing. Every time the Bears are starting to win, you want prettier, and they end up losing. And now it has come to a disaster. Pure and utter disaster in Chicago. And this is karma on you. Every one of you fans. 0-17 is what you really deserve. Which won't happen because they're going to change that quarterback up eventually. But you deserve 0-17 because every time there was winning starting in Chicago, you have to complain and whine and gripe. It was Rex Grossman when you hated Kyle Orton, so you wanted Rex Grossman's pretty arm. Then it was Kyle Orton again. You wanted Jay Cutler, which cost us Bruce Arians. You hated Mitchell Trubisky there because you wanted something else. You threw a fit, booed him at United Center, and then you get Justin Fields, and then things went to hell. Every time you want prettier and you want the rock star, things lose. Just accept winning for what it is. These guys are professionals. You are not. You are drunks that are fighting in the crowd.
Okay. Strong words from Mr. Chicago here. Okay, with that said, Monty, I don't know what to say about that, and I'm not even going to dare to even comment on it, even if I had the last word on that. I'll leave it alone. Since I'm a Lions guy at heart, I guess, we've had a lot of anguish, and now Jacob is feeling it. I don't think they could get to Arlington Heights fast enough anyway. Don't get them started there until another show. Otherwise, we'll be into the year 2024 with him on that. Okay, Monty, go ahead. I better quit while I'm ahead before I get Christmas started again. Go ahead.
All right. So one of the things in life, you want to evolve, right? You want to constantly evolve. You don't want to be stuck where you were 20 years ago. I watched the Jets with Rex Ryan, and after every game, Rex Ryan would say, "We got to ground and pound. We got to ground and pound." Steve Young spent an offseason in training camp with every team in the AFC East, and he was shocked that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, a defensive coach, an hour at the end of every practice would work on his 2-minute drill. Nick Saban realized as a defensive coach, listen, the way the rules have changed in college, we need to be a vertical passing team. And look at what he's done since he's developed quarterbacks, he's developed wide receivers. Steve Young said Rex Ryan spends 5 minutes in a 2-minute drill, and if they don't get the first down, the practice is over. Rex Ryan was one of the worst teams coming from behind in the fourth quarter because he only knew one way to win, ground and pound. There are very few teams in the league other than Tennessee who rely on their running back. Arthur Smith and the Atlanta Falcons are the worst 2-0 team in the history of the NFL. This guy wants to play the game like it's 1950s Army's football. All he does is want to run. He had the whole offseason to prepare for week one opponent. And what does he do? Desmond Ridder throws for 115 yards. Patrick Mahomes throws for 115 yards in a quarter. His two leading receivers, Drake London and Kyle Pitts, have a combined 10 catches on the year. Travis Kelce has 10 catches and a half. So all you Atlanta Falcon fans who keep coming after me telling me Arthur Smith knows what he's doing, if they get down 13-0, I saw it last year with Mariota and Ridder. He has no clue what he's doing. He is the worst offensive coach I've ever seen, and I've seen Rex Ryan. He wants to ground and pound. He wants to run the ball 50 times a game in a vertical passing league because he had success with it. Well, dude, this is not 1975. Watch what happens to the Atlanta Falcons. They're in a crappy division. But watch what happens to them when they're down 14-0, 17-0, and Desmond Ridder throws 3 picks and a half because he's not comfortable yet. You have Kyle Pitts and Drake London, 2 absolute studs, and they don't even get the ball. Just run the wishbone, dude. Just run the wishbone.
Gosh, I haven't heard the wishbone in ages. I really haven't. Back to the Oklahoma days. All right, well, here's my parting shot. I want to make sure I'm consistent with what I've been doing all week. And since I have a University of South Florida college ring on my right hand, now you know where I'm going with this one. 15 years
No, not really. No.
trying to find a location, and they're right where they are. And the stadium will probably be a matter of who knows how many feet away from the old one, Tropicana Field. All right, took you 16 years to determine you're not going to go far from the Tropicana Field, right where you're nearby. The project's going to cost 1.3 billion. The total development for the area is 6.5 billion, and that will be over 20 years. My goodness, okay. Over 20 years. You know what, folks? I don't mind admitting my age on the air. I'm 60, okay? And if we see that total development in 20 years, I will be 80. No, maybe I won't. I may not be anywhere. I'll probably be, in fact, I know where I'll be if I'm not down here. I will be in a mausoleum or one of those things up in Wisconsin at Wisconsin Memorial Park, okay, joining my buddy Tom Skybosh and my wife Candy, okay, up there. When that happens, when the Jetsons are reborn in St. Petersburg, okay, because that's what it looks like. It all looks like. So let's talk about the hotels. Let's talk about everything. Let's talk about the stores. Let's talk about everything you got around there that Detroit hasn't gotten yet because of all these developmental projects that were all part of the big picture but never has materialized. But in the old words of Tommy Lasorda, because God delays may not mean that God denies. Well, for the cities of Detroit and St. Petersburg, you better hope pray that Tommy Lasorda is right, because God delays, because God denies. Because I don't know if I'll be alive to see it, but guess what? For the Tampa Bay Rays fans, back where we started, just a few hundred feet away. Me personally, I think the stadium should have been built in Tampa in the first place, Hillsborough. But the Tampa Bay area collectively is a great sports town. They really, really are. The Buccaneers sell out well, whether they win or they lose, and the Tampa Bay Lightning are phenomenal. They could support an NBA team if they wanted to, but Orlando has it. And I do believe that if the Rays get a suitable facility, and Stuart Sternberg to me is like Albert Einstein, that they'll be fine. But I still find it hard to believe that $6.5 billion for this historic project over 20 years and total development, I need to see it. I really do, because so many of these other areas have not provided on those promises. And I hope St. Petersburg does, because apparently home sweet home, because they weren't going across the Howard Franklin Bridge to Hillsborough County. And we all know how beautiful Clearwater is. They're not taking anybody over there because the beaches are too beautiful to put a ballpark there. And Clearwater Beach in Clearwater is one of my favorite towns there. So great first act, Monty. It really has been a lot of fun having you on. Looking forward to having you on a lot more shows. This just so happens it worked out very nicely where the dominoes fell right. I want to spend a special congratulations to JB Ellis and his future wife, Debbie. They're going to be tying the knot out in Cancun. And I'm sure at some point, Monty, you'll have a chance to catch up with JB. He is normally in that fourth spot tonight, but obviously he's got business to take care of. And beautiful Mexico. You ever been to Cancun? It's an unbelievable place. Anthony Bianchi, one of the reasons this show was great, because you were a part of it to go along with the four of us. So here we go. Let's get that comment. Great show, boys, as always. Well, you know what? You're a big part of this one. So any questions or comments, we're going to let everybody know how they get a hold of us. Before I do that, though, just let everybody know one more time, the Sports Exchange being broadcast around the world. The audio version of Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Just work your way through the chat room. One way to do it. Send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter, X, whatever, or at Tribune South. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes, except tonight she's on a Zoom call with my nephew, Peter. Happy birthday once again to Peter. All right, with that said, around the horn, George, let everybody know they can reach you.
All right, I got a book called Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air, which chronicles over 90 years of sportscasting in Detroit. And we have had some great, fantastic voices here, as you guys know. Ernie Harwell, Van Patrick, George Blaha. Oh, my God, the list goes on and on and on. Bud Lynch, Bruce Martin, and hockey. Scott is in the book, too, because Scott and I go back 40-plus years at broadcasting excellence here in Detroit. So there's a link to purchase the book at the end of my column. I write for the South Florida Tribune, the Detroit Monitor, and of course the Motor City Tribune, and you'll find a link if you care to purchase the book. It's a great gift idea. Also, you can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com. You can find me on Inside the Pigskin, 108 Stitches, the Sports Exchange, and Pundits Pundit. And also you can reach me on Twitter at SandGSports99, or known as X now instead of Twitter. So good to be part of the show again, guys. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm also in there with Muhammad Ali and Jimmy Connors. For
Yes,
those
you
of that
are.
want to
Good,
know.
good,
So
good.
not too bad. They're champions in their own way. Jimmy Connors, heck of a player. Muhammad Ali, I can't say enough great things about that guy. All right, go ahead, Jacob.
Well, since this was the time I didn't say everything on one of the shows confidential. I'll say everything I am tonight. Sunday mornings, I'm on something called the Professor and the Pupils on the South Florida Tribune. Monday is one of the shows. It's a wrestling show called Top Rope Talk with the Sniper and the Pundit. I'm on that with Denzel Snipes. Tuesdays off. Wednesdays is this show and Confidential. Thursday nights, the Pundits Pundit. Monty, that is my show. That is my thing. The Pundits Pundit. It is very much it's not as produced or video, but it's very much like the higher end version of Outside the Lines.
Gotcha.
It is we don't do meathead talk. We talk serious things about the future of the league and where we go. And George and Scott are both on it, and they all love it.
So Dan Campbell will never be on your show then.
Well, see, so no, he's already bit too many kneecaps. We have too many short people.
Exactly.
But still,
That's funny.
but no, it was like that is the whole point. I mean, to find one of my shows sometime, you'll love it, and these guys are awesome on it, So we have this, and then I'm on the Gauntlet on Sideline Sports when they need me, so I'm kind of a backup. I also have a couple of movies I've been in that I'm going to show my clips, small little parts. And I'm also on Patreon. I'm working on. I'm also in Substack on Ricochet. I do some writing. I'm on the Inscriber, and I also have written sometimes once in a while on South Florida Tribune. So I keep myself going.
I can hardly tell, but no, we're glad, Jacob. You're a real big part of what we do here for sure. I enjoy the fact that every once in a while, if we need you on Inside the Pigskin 108, such as baseball talk, you don't think twice about coming on. Since you've come under our window, you've really become a lot more well-rounded as a broadcaster. You really have. I'm not just saying that you've come a long way. I'm not saying you weren't great to begin with, but anytime you can go out there and become a lot more well-rounded with experienced individuals trying to give you pointers every so often, you're the most coachable person I've ever seen. And I like to give you a hard time because you can handle and take it anyway. So I'm not.
And we have fun. And George, I always consider you and George the mentors. I absolutely do, and I appreciate it.
Well, George and I are simply inseparable, anyways, and it won't be long before Monty and I are inseparable, right, Monty? So with that said, get your information out there again, Mr. MP. Monty Perez. Let's make a deal and get some info. Oh, that's Monty Hall. Never mind.
Let's every Sunday at 11 a.m. I have guests all across the country. We do the show at 11 o'clock Eastern time, and then on Monday we do a recap at 7 p.m. I have Brad Ward on who covers the Browns. I have A. Marie on who covers the Vikings, and she's on. She has her own show in New Mexico on a radio station in New Mexico. She does a lot of stuff for Cumulus Radio. I've written about 700 articles in the last couple of years. Every Monday and Wednesday, I do top 5 things we learned about college football, and then I'll have an NFL article, power ranking, stuff like that. This week, I did the preview of the Oregon Ducks versus Colorado. You could check it out. I think Scott's going to put that on the website there. I think Colorado's in a world of hurt. They're not going to be able to defend the crossing routes. Oregon speed's going to kill them. And I know Jacob disagrees with me, but it's going to be a double-digit win.
I'm not putting anything on the website. I'm not smart enough. Candy's doing
it.
Don't ever sell me too short about technology. I had to fight through a screen share today over at a presentation for the Coral Springs Chamber, and I'll tell you, that was the most ugly presentation, but in the end result, they got to see the website. That's all that mattered to me. So on behalf of George, Jacob, and Monty, his first but certainly not last, Zach, my name is Scott Morgan-Roth, the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange, and we will catch you the next time. Also, before we sign off, we have tomorrow's lineup will consist of Pundits Pundit. Will be tomorrow. We have a broadcast tomorrow and then Fire Up as well. So the crew tomorrow will be the main 4. We have Jacob, Denzel, myself, and George. Is that correct, Jacob?
Yep, sure do.
Correct. And then, of course, tomorrow on Fire Up we'll have Jeremy Ballrick, George, Ralph Williams, and myself. So have a lot. We have a big doubleheader tomorrow night on the network, and I'm going to be getting ready to possibly cover some Milwaukee Brewers action this weekend against the Miami Marlins. Have to put in the request, and we'll make sure that everything goes official before we say we were there. So follow us there. So once again, on behalf of my incredible crew, I want to thank you very much for joining us, everybody, and we will catch you the next time here on the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network.